Welcome everyone to the Love Island cast. My name's Dave Horrocks, and my special guest today is the human metronome himself, Asa Caton.
Good evening, Dave. I'm here, the super sub, standing in for Chris Phelps.
Yep, well, Chris unfortunately can't be with us tonight, but hopefully we'll fill in nicely, just like Ovi.
Too soon. Too soon, Dave.
Now, Asa, we got to start with probably the most emotional bit. I mean, I know we've wanted the drama in this, but getting towards the episode today, I'm thinking, you know what? This genuinely feels like I'm about to turn up with my popcorn and watch a car crash. And there was kind of ups and downs, but I mean, that really did. With Curtis and Amy at the end there, that kind of pulled on the heartstrings. Well, what did you make to that?
It did, and I think when we spoke after the show yesterday, I'd said that I'd struggled a little bit to feel sorry for Amy, just because I haven't particularly enjoyed her time on the show. I don't think she's a particularly great character. But after what happened yesterday, I was kind of expecting all that fallout today, and I thought it was going to be quite an emotional show where she sat Curtis down and told him exactly how she felt, as opposed to him trying to explain away his actions. And I'd kind of built myself up waiting for that, and the popcorn was out. But right from the off, she put me on the back foot, because what was all that note taking about? So
I must admit, I did have a little bit of a pop at that on Twitter. I was saying, she's making a list, she's checking it twice. Yeah. Trying to be a bit of a funny bastard, but not really. So she did get a little bit of sticker about that, but I think she was absolutely fine about that. And I'll tell you why, because I've kind of been in that position and done it myself, where I imagine right now her brain is just a muddled mess. And so she's taking in information and she's not sure that she's absorbing 100% of it. I mean, none of us quite often do. So it's just a case of, right, if you tell me it, I'm going to write it down and then I won't forget about it, because my head's all over the place and, I'm not thinking in a linear way. So getting the information down from Jordan, I think was fine. Probably she's gone a step further beyond where I would have done, where, is to kind of rehearse it with the girls and, refine some of that wording and how you're going to put it. But I must admit, I think I'm in the minority, but I think given where she is emotionally and how clearly she isn't thinking, probably, I thought making a list was a perfectly logical thing to do. So, I mean, Jordan wasn't exactly what's the word I'm looking for? Subtle. She didn't
helpful.
have a bedside manner, did she? She was quite surgical about it all.
Yeah, I think she could have said a lot less and still made it clear to Amy the situation that they'd been in. I think it feels to me like she over-egged the pudding to try and drive a wedge between the two of them, or certainly to wind Amy up to that big sit-down. That's what it felt like to me.
I've got to agree with you as well. I mean, the whole thing about this was just two conversations, and then she was saying, the one thing, did he say this off camera? I certainly don't remember it, but, him calling her Jordan beautiful, I thought I don't remember that. Now, it could have happened off camera, but that really did feel like twisting the knife and just going a bit beyond what was needed.
Yeah, and so the note-taking, I kind of see where you're coming from. I think we've all been in those awkward situations. We've all been burnt once or twice, and we want to make sure that we've got our heads are frazzled, and we want to make sure we've got all that information before we go into a key sit down.
I'm just on about next week's shopping. I'm not.
But when you tie that up with the conversation that she had with the girls, it was almost surgical planning. I'm not gonna ask questions. I'm going to give statements. And then she was asking the girls, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? That wasn't somebody just trying to get their thoughts in order before they sit down. Mm-hmm. That was somebody who was tactically planning how to dissect somebody. And I get that she's hurt. I get that she's hurt, and that's probably her reaction to being hurt. She wants to hurt him back. But then you can't then go and sit down with him and try and hurt that person, try and cause them pain, and then she tried to step back from the relationship and say, well, I'm going to step away and decide what I want. And then Curtis offered up, well, actually, yeah, I've said all these things and I mean them 100%, but I can't promise I'm not going to do it again. And then she got upset. It's almost like it was planned to give her the most emotional impact, or to give her the biggest emotional fallout so that people would feel for her. And then he's tried to steal that away. And the pair of them, I don't believe for 1 second that the pair of them are entirely happy in that relationship. I think they've both been settling, and now they're fighting over the fallout, if that makes sense.
Yeah. My grief is worse than yours.
Yeah.
I've said from day one, I don't buy into this, that, she's never had a boyfriend before, and as heartbreaking as it was, some of the words that she was using last night, that, I thought I'd finally found someone, but this has happened again, or it was something like that. And again, I'm just not really buying that bit, but I buy that her feelings for Curtis were genuine. You know why she's not been in that particular position before? Is because no one else puts up with that amount of shit.
Yeah.
And Curtis, with his shit-eating grin, just constantly was like, yeah. And even when the tweet game sort of called it out, he's like, no, it's fine. We're more than happy. So had he just called her out on a few things, he might have got her to recognize, hold up that mirror and let her see how she's been. And this isn't really great behavior. So I think she's got free reign, to be honest, to do whatever she wants, because in this particular relationship, I other than just be herself, which we agree, we don't like her, but I'm sure there's some people do.
I'm sure there's people who do like her.
But, it's Curtis who, for me, really comes off like the manipulative one. And it just seems like he's gone in, Chris, and the first time you came on the show, you called it, he's playing a game. And I was like, well, I'll just take him on face value. Just seems like a nice guy. And it seems like his game plan's gone to shit. And he's just got absolutely no plan B. He's just like, I am fucked. And we were saying yesterday about him shooting his legs off. I mean, she said, didn't she? Yeah. She said that, what he said in his recoupling speech, he just did everything to make it worse. And so I don't know whether it was a conscious thing or an unconscious thing. But he's basically put Amy in a position where even if she wanted to reconcile that, she can't really.
No. So I think he has been playing the game from the start. I think what I would say about Curtis is when he was in the relationship with Amy, he was able to plan that game longer term. Whereas because he's been firefighting on the back foot with Amy and the fallout from the recoupling, I don't think he's got the wherewithal to be able to react as quickly as he would like.
Mm-hmm.
I think his game plan's gone to shit because he can't do that. He can't make those short-term maneuvers. I don't think he's not got the wherewithal, the tactical nous to do it. So I think his game plan was very much based on, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to settle down with somebody early, I'm going to make it work, and I'm just going to try and look like the good guy all the way through it. And now his game plan's gone to shit. He's really struggling. His next move will be to quickly try and recouple with somebody else.
Well, let's come on to that in a minute, because the old preview for tomorrow, I don't think he's going to have to wait that long.
I don't think he is either.
Which I'm a bit surprised about, to be honest. But
really?
Again, well, let's come back to that. I guess I hear what you're saying. So again, I've questioned. I've taken him on face value initially and said, well, just seems like a nice guy. He approaches things in a rational way. So why wouldn't he do that? And, Amy seemed nice enough, and why wouldn't he couple up with her? And so I was just taking it all completely on face value. But now, with a bit of an outcome bias, I'm kind of thinking like, he's watched all this series of Love Island. He's watched all these, the Australian one as well, the American one. So he's figured out, he's had a long, long time to prepare his game plan here.
Yeah.
And he's got it all mapped out. And I can't help but think that it goes back to that tweet that he's just put that doubt in his mind. And then he's just thought, fuck, my game plan is fucked. And so he's had all the time to prepare, but now he has to prepare on the fly and react. He's fucked. He's got nothing.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yep. You're doing a fucking good job of replacing Chris here, aren't you?
I could have just said, yep.
Come on. These long explanations. My conspiracy wall is filled up here. And it's fine now.
Yeah.
But
essentially, you've just repeated what I've just said, but you went a long way around.
In my own words, in my own dyslexic way. But what we were saying, so getting back to, you're not that surprised that he's going to recouple up quite quickly. I'd have thought he'd be pretty tainted now. He's not quite at Michael levels, but it looks like Maura's fancying a bit of the old Curtis, which is a bit of a shocker for me.
See, I don't think he is that. I don't think he's that tainted. Yes, he had this perfect man moniker before all this happened. But I think the girls have all been really keen on Curtis. I think they all enjoy his company. They all enjoy his personality. I wouldn't say he was one of the better looking guys in there, but he's a decent enough looking guy. But all the girls have said at some point, yeah, Curtis is the ideal man, pretty much. Unless I'm mistaken. Most of them have made those noises.
Yeah, a lot of them have. I like to think myself it's down to his bit of a dad bod. He's got a bit of a gut, Annie. You look at like Tommy, you look at Michael, you look at Anton, they're all ripped, they've got abs. Whereas Curtis, he's got a bit of a gut, so I think this book for me.
Well, he's like myself. What he likes in looks, he makes up for in personality. But so in taking that into context, the flip side of that, and the reason why I don't think he'll be tainted, is because equally I think everybody in the house realizes the issues that Amy has and why Curtis may have looked the other way.
I thought it was quite telling. And again, you're condensing these things. People always say, you're condensing what happens in 24 hours down to an hour. It's bollocks that, isn't it? Because quite often you get 2 episodes spread over 2 nights. So it's multiple days, and they take the juiciest bits, and stick them in. So, but I thought it was quite telling that Curtis was dishing out his advice to George and Ovi, and all the lads were around, and they were talking to Jordan, and I thought it felt to me like the lads are like, you know what, you're full of all this fucking advice, but actually you're full of shit. We've seen through it now. So he's like he's trying to dish out his advice to Ovi and George now. He's trying to get them on side.
Oh, well, the only other person that's listening to him is Tommy. Yeah. Those two are thick as thieves anyway. But his advice from the start has been pretty flaky. It's all been, like Chris said, it's all been stuff that's come out of a prawn cracker or
textbook. A prawn cracker, yeah.
I get at him while he's not here. It's all been stuff that's come off for fortune cookie or things that have come out of self-help books. He hasn't stepped in there with any great wisdom. He's just kind of got that charisma and charm, and anything he says, everybody else takes seriously.
You know what he's like. If you're on the quiz machines or whatever, and you get a mate there, And he's like, "Oh, it's that C."
Yeah.
And you press on C, and it's like, "Oh, that's wrong." "Oh, no, of course, A." And you press on A, and that's wrong as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I knew it was B. Fuck off. It's like, because they say it so loud, so quickly, and with confidence, you believe them. And I think it's with Curtis. He has that deliberate way of talking that it's well thought out, it's well considered, and he's talking from a position of wisdom.
Do you know what? This isn't the first time I've used this phrase this week, but as my music teacher used to say to me, there's no such thing as a wrong note in jazz as long as it's played with conviction.
Yeah, that's it. And he is the bullshit jazz machine.
Yeah.
He just keeps going.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think Amy should just fuck him off. I have no idea where she goes from this. I know people are a bit worried. I think, quite frankly, she is a grown-up, so, she should stick it out. I think she should. Absolutely. Just fucking, I don't know, go for Jordan, go for whoever she wants, just fill your boots, you're there. So I hope she doesn't just take the easy option and duck out of the villa, but it'll be interesting. Now, I did mention there about Ovi. Now, we've got an interesting little triangle there, which I think, was it you or was it Chris who predicted that yesterday? And I was like, nah, Jordan's gone. He's taking it like a man. He'll take his bittersweet pill and he'll just get on with it. But I've seen a change in Anna that I wasn't expecting. So, again, I mean, what do you make to that?
There's been a few articles in the press today. There was a few comments on Twitter, and I think there was a number of complaints from Ofcom about a potential bullying situation with Amber and Anna. So I think there's been what you saw tonight was almost a change of character from Anna, and I think that is down to the producers and the editing and just understanding some of the noises that are out there in the media at the minute about those two particular girls and trying to paint them in a slightly better light, maybe. Yeah, Anna's found herself in a bit of a love triangle between Ovi and Jordan. And I think, actually, the way she's gone about her business tonight is quite shrewd, quite mature, and completely different to everything she's done in the villa so far. Not that I still think she's up there with the double standards, but she's lost that attitude a little bit tonight.
I'm going to take that it's not the producer's input. Okay. I'm just going to take it on face value and say that once one of her mates has been dissed or whatever, she goes full on into the warrior woman mode, doesn't she? And, she's all out attack. Whereas when she had to come face to face with Jordan and old Ovi there, she became like a schoolgirl who was being told off. She was staring at her feet. She had that little baby voice, and she just, I just didn't think you liked me, and it's just like, what the fuck? It's, not quite Norman Bates level of switching, hopefully, but, it was just a complete change from what we'd seen before. So, as you know, I'm sure, the part of the brain that is all logical and rational is not the same part of the brain that drives us emotionally as well. And people might not like it, but it's true. Sometimes, something happens and it wakes up an emotion that you just didn't know was there before. Yeah. So I can believe that actually this kind of stirred something up and, it's made her realize whether she can kind of see the hypocrisy and all that. I don't know, but let's get on to Amber and Michael a bit later. But I don't know. I thought Jordan, fair play. And I've said many times before, up until yesterday, I haven't really warmed to Jordan, but I found something about his infectious little smile there. I found that quite endearing, and I thought, good on you, lad. And he had a chat with the lads, and he's saying, you know what, Operation Anna's on, and I'm like, go on, son, go on. Even though I hate her, Go on, get in there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I think he's had some good highlights this week. The recoupling when they came back from the villa, the fact that he stood there and took that from Anna and didn't react to the fact that she was clearly quite sheepish about what she'd done. And I think it was shame more than anything else, the fact that she was looking at her feet and talking in that schoolgirl manner. Mm-hmm. I thought she was extremely disrespectful. You know, if Ovi's gonna sit there and tell people to act like a man and grow some balls, you know, he needs to have a word with her first, or he needed to have a word with her first yesterday. That was the first highlight for me this week for Jordan. Then actually calling out Anna's behaviour, I would have been proud of him if he'd have stood up and shouted it across the villa and actually made everybody else realise how he was thinking about that, or alerted everybody else as to how he thought Anna was behaving. I'd have had, you know, more respect for him. But he called it as he saw it, and then the lads heard it, and that's great. And then tonight, yeah, we've made no secret of the fact that we don't particularly like Anna. But obviously he does, and he's not going to take it lying down, is he? She's obviously given him a glimmer of hope, and he's taken that and decided, right, okay, yeah, you know, if you're still interested, then let's see where this goes.
And you're right, and the thing is, it kind of got lost in the mix a little bit, but when everyone was giving Danny a hard time about how he was treating Yuande, and Anna was going like, bye, 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 and again, that was, you know, she just reverted to that childish schoolgirl in that scenario. Jordan, even though it was still early in that relationship, he was calling her out. He was saying, it's bang out of all of that, you know, it's childish. Yeah. You know, so Michael had got praise. Yeah, Michael had got praise for something similar, hadn't he? Whereas, you know, obviously it's taken a different turn for him. But yeah, I've got to say, Jordan's growing on me.
Yeah, definitely. I think what I don't want to see happen, and what I can see from tonight's show, is that actually the boys and the girls are you've almost kind of got four groups now. You've got the original boys, the new boys, the original girls, and the new girls, and they all seem to be teaming up against each other as opposed to coupling up with one of them. That dynamic's changed, and I'm hoping that sort of corrects itself over the next few days, because it's going to be boring as fuck if it's just the four groups all just going at each other.
Well, I mean, I must admit, I kind of hate it and love it. Like say, when it was just a few couples, I could wrap my head around it. It was just a bit like, you know, Game of Thrones, you know, you're just thinking. But I remember, I think it might have been Ed, or it might have been someone else emailing us in and saying, you know, Casa Amor needs to happen because Michael and Amber are just coasting. Well, he fucking nailed that one.
Called it.
Yeah, absolutely nailed that one. So
well done, Ed.
I don't think it's gonna, you know, the current status quo. But I tell you what, I didn't see it coming that Ovi would very quickly find himself in shit corner, and you know, he's making it clear. You know, he's like, well, in Casa Amor it was like this. It was like, well, yeah. It's a bit difficult, this show, isn't it? So I still have not seen a personality from Ovi. I think he got a lot of credit last night for, you know, being there for Amber, for saying, yeah, Michael, it's not how a man acts. You know, for me, it's like a shadow government, you know, saying, oh, yeah, it's all shit. All shit that, what the government's done. It's fucking easy when you've not done anything to just go there and criticise someone else. So I don't know if there's going to be a recoupling soon. You know, is she going to go Ovi? Is she going to go Jordan? But all my money and my thoughts and everything, I'm all behind Team Jordan now.
Yeah, and I just hope he gets to couple up with somebody that he likes and somebody that can see him through to the final.
He seems to only have eyes for Anna, though, doesn't he? I mean, I did wonder, you know, is he just going the easy option? You know, ultimately, he had a choice of two, you know, from that initial date. Yeah. He had Maura and he had Anna. And he's just made his mind up. I guess I thought that was convenient, but he seems to have made his mind up. So as much as I don't like some of Anna's behaviour, I'm rooting for him there. But let's get on to what we all thought tonight was going to be about. So Amma and her dinner date with Joanna. So what did you make of that?
So I had a look at First Look today, so I kind of I knew what to expect almost, and I have to say, yet again, disappointed by Amber's behaviour. And I think what I would say is that I have written a lot of Amber's behaviour off simply by the fact that she's one of the youngest in there. And I was giving it some thought today, and I'm going to stop saying that behaviour is because Anna is one of the youngest. It's not because she's the youngest. It's because she's one of the most immature in there. And there's a difference between being young and being immature.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I think, though, I probably see it a little bit different. So I had a look at the First Look, and to be honest, that made it out that Amber was the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And Joanna was doing all of the, she was trying to do all of the bridge building. But actually, that wasn't what I saw tonight. I saw that at specific moments that Amber was lashing out, but, having a bit of empathy for her position, it is a bit shit. She's walked into the villa. She's not had any interest in any of the blokes. She's walked in there thinking, because Michael hasn't actually said to her all these things that he was saying to Joanna about what was wrong. And obviously it was a very heated recoupling last night. She has, I don't forgive some of the things, the whole dead thing and just she did blatantly ignore her. And it's a bit like when Maura and Elmer first came into the villa, she was denying doing anything in that case. But I kind of think even in that dinner date that she's got with Joanna there, it's still all very raw. So I agree, it's a maturity thing. And again, I've heard it said a few times now, Joe was saying it on this podcast, that, in 5 years' time, she'll have grown up a bit, she'll have matured a bit, and that will make a difference for whoever she's in a relationship with then. But honestly, apart from those bits, and every bit where I thought Amber was a bit out of line, I saw her on the First Look. But then she'd lash out and then she'd sort of recoil a bit. And it's well, okay. And you could see that when she got back to the girls, she was saying, well, she seems really nice, and she hasn't got a beef with Joanna. She's angry at her. And that's nothing to do with Joanna the person, is it? She just happens to be there, and it's she's hurt. And so I've had a problem with some of the things that Amber's done, but not tonight. I think I'm all right with Amber there.
No, I think Joanna got off on the wrong foot, didn't she? Because we all know what Amber's like, and we knew it was going to be a frosty start to that date. But the one thing you don't want to say to somebody who's frosty is, well, if you're not going to say anything, I'll be the bigger person.
So I've used this on the podcast before, but I'm going to use it again. It's like dangling your crown jewels in the lion's mouth while flicking his love spuds with a wet towel. There's only one outcome there. And so old Joanna maybe made a bit of a misstep there. But what I'll say is I was pretty impressed. I thought Joanna might be a little bit of a shrinking violet because we haven't seen a lot, but she's a bit feisty as well, isn't she? She can bite back.
Oh yeah, she was. Yeah, she wasn't taking any prisoners. If she wanted a reaction, she, like you say, she got the reaction, and then Amber would step back, and it was just that there was there's always two extremes of a response from Amber, isn't there? There's always that catty comment or the bitchy response, or the not bitchy or catty, the stronger response where she just reacts, and then there's the more laid back, softer response where the one where she gets upset and starts explaining how she actually feels. And I can never tell whether she's doing that to get a specific reaction or whether it's involuntary, that immature, involuntary reaction.
Mm-hmm. I genuinely do think it is a maturity thing. And I think it's just, I look back to when I was 20, just you do just say stupid shit and you behave in ways that you cringe at now.
Shit when I was 20.
Exactly. So I think it's, for me, that whole interaction between them two, and then it cuts to Michael talking to Anton. I think tonight just made Michael look even worse because, again, because of what had gone on and built up to it, you knew what was going to happen, and you could understand Michael's reasoning. You could understand his rationale. Look, I've got with this girl, and actually she makes me feel good about myself. It's all the things that I like about Amber, but it's without all the negative stuff, which we'd seen as well, some of it. But he's not fucking actually said that. All he did last night, and all he's continued... Well, so all he did last night was attack Amber and say, basically, it's your fault. So all the things that, this has happened, and it's all your fault, and that wasn't fair. But, when he's talking to Anton today, it's all about me. It's all about Amber might say this to her and put me in a bad light. And, it's just not anything about, well, hopefully, we can diffuse all of this. We can move on. And, it is telling. He's never actually just said, sorry, look, this is shit. It is what it is. He hasn't even said that.
Yeah. Michael strikes me now as somebody who's very concerned about the perception of himself on the outside because he knows he's done something wrong.
So I watched, the body language expert, Judy James. She was analysing that initial recoupling. And one of the things she said was, she was looking at Michael and how he was. And when Amber walked in, he was displaying signs of just fear. And so he is. He
I think I'd be scared.
Yeah, I mean, we all would, wouldn't we? But again, it kind of ties up with what I was saying yesterday. That just he was tooled up and ready to go into battle. He thought what he was going to get, and he's misread Amber a few times now. He thought he was going to get a full-on verbal assault, and so he was fearful of that. And he's just lashed out and just been a complete dick. So I was kind of willing to think, okay, if he steps back and he says, you know what, I fucked up there. I should have really behaved in a completely different way. So I thought he could recover it. Whereas what I've seen tonight, where it's all about me and it's all about my own, relationship and my own public perception kind of thing, I kind of think, you're gone now. You've lost it.
Well, I think that's still to come because he did say tonight that he was going to pull Amber on one side for a chat, but he was going to wait for the right moment. So maybe he has learnt a lesson and he's just going to wait until things have calmed down a bit. Then the best thing that can happen for Michael and Joanna now is just try and spend a bit of time out of the limelight, away from the cameras, getting to know each other, just show people that you're a good couple and see where you go from there. He's obviously going to have to deal with the fallout at some point with Amber. I think there's been worse fallings out on previous series. I think it will soon blow over. As exciting as it's been whilst it's been happening, I think everybody's a little bit bored of it now and just let it blow over. We've got bigger fish to fry, I think.
Well, final thing. So let's just talk about Lucy, Tommy, and Molly May then. So what did you make to that whole chat?
Do you know what? I am slowly coming round to the fact that Tommy might actually just win this thing because he keeps getting dragged into these awkward conversations with Lucy. And the way he's handling it, the way he's speaking to Lucy, and he's being completely honest with her. And he said, you're going to struggle. I thought he was a bit big-headed, like, you're going to struggle to get over me, but, you'll be fine. And he's just said, look, I just want to carry on being friends. I'm with Molly May. I'm 100% into Molly May. He's had that chat with Lucy, and he's gone straight over to Molly May and said, right, this is what Lucy said. This is what I've told her. You've got nothing to worry about. I think had it been earlier in the series, I think I mentioned it a couple of times when I'd been on, I was really worried that Tommy was saying all the right things, but not really understanding what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's now settled into the villa. He's settled into his relationship with Molly May, and he's saying all the right things, but I actually think he means them now.
Yeah.
But the worry is, does Molly May feel the same way about Tommy?
I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. And I know I've seen so many people talk about, how they got all upset and emotional, but that when, Molly May broke down at that recoupling and she started crying, I still call bullshit. I still say there were no tears. And again, old Judy James, she validated it for me. She was saying I was very suspicious. I was like, I knew it. It's not just me. So, I think Tommy is in. He's all in. Now, does that mean he's got no feelings for Lucy? Absolutely not. You can see that. And I guess the one thing I didn't like about the way Tommy phrased it to Molly May was it sounded like Lucy had pulled him for a chat. He pulled Lucy for a chat.
Yeah.
And that's one little nitpick. I think I didn't really like that. So he kind of gave Molly May a cause to be upset. And I still think Molly May's emotion is more driven from a possessiveness rather than, actually being head over heels. But you can see it in Tommy's face. He's kind of like, he does seem to be all in. He's got this boyish smile. And, I think you say you're slowly coming round. I don't see any other winners. I mean, I know we've got a little while to go yet, but they are surely in front right now.
They've got to be favourites. If you were to look at the odds, they have to be favourites because there's nobody else in there, especially now that Curtis and Amy are no more.
Yeah,
or the producers certainly want you to think that they're no more.
I think they are. I mean. Maybe if Maura, I did predict probably a couple of weeks ago now, Maura and Anton, they're both quite amusing just individually, aren't they? If they coupled up, you might have a strong couple there, but Maura just kind of can't seem to stick or twist herself. So.
Oh, she can certainly stick her tongue down men's throats.
Well, I mean, anything else that you picked up on tonight?
I'm sure there was other bits in there. Ovi talking about how he's such a proud man, such a proud man. But I'm not going to go into that because after everything I said last night, he may well just turn up outside my house.
Fucking slap you around the head with his cricket bat. So,
yes.
Yep.
He may even throw a googly.
So, oh dear. So, right. So, Asa, where can everyone get you on the interwebs?
So, as usual, everyone can get me on Twitter at Social Tornado. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram as the drummer for AKA Noel Gallagher, currently touring all around the UK. And Scotland. Hang on, Scotland's part of the UK. Currently
it is at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, the Northwest and Scotland.
Awesome. And if you'd like to get in contact with the show, you can get us on Twitter at Love Island Cast, or you can email the show at theloveislandcast@gmail.com. And if you do like the show, then just head over to your podcast catcher of choice and drop us a 5-star review. And this just helps us to get out to other listeners and helps us to grow the show. So, Asa, thank you very much, sir. You've been an admirable stand-in there.
Thank you very much for having me on.
We've actually been able to get through the show without a giggling fit, so that's a minor achievement there. So again, hopefully we'll have a lot more drama to see tomorrow, and I'll speak to you again soon.
I think it's going to be a belter tomorrow.